How's it going, everyone? We've got another guest with us today. Our guest is Mercury. How are you?
Fine, thank you very much.
Awesome.
I hope you're
Awesome.
doing well yourself.
I am. I'm doing really well. It's beautiful weather today, and I've been very productive this week, so I can't complain.
I'm glad I'm in London. It's terrible weather.
Oh no.
Yesterday it rained for 7 hours and it just started raining again.
Oh no. That's kind of London from what I hear though.
Yeah, recently. I mean, we had like maybe half a day of summer and now we have all of this.
Oh no. So how long have you been practicing for?
I've been, we could keep it vague and say I've been practicing my whole life, but I've been practicing consciously maybe 3 years now.
Okay, awesome.
Yes.
And what got you interested in the first place?
I quite like I grew up learning the arts, so
Mhm.
I do music and I'm very familiar with science as well. And I like to think or believe in poetic representations of the world. So
Mhm.
anytime I'm addressing science or addressing I think of them as art and science. And I think that's a natural progression from moving
Mhm.
like that. Yeah.
I do too.
Because it is I'm listening.
I was just gonna say I'm the same way. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say it's the royal arts and the sacred sciences, so it's
Absolutely.
certainly fitting. Yes.
Okay, and what are some of your favorite types of workings or practices to do?
I've been very drawn in recent years to ceremonial magic. Of course, when I first started out practicing, it was very innate.
Mhm.
I didn't learn any rituals, but I was drawn to having ceremonial times with myself.
Mhm.
I started practicing when I was way younger, like every full moon, for example, or every new moon. I
Sure.
like I mark the time.
Mhm.
However, uh, growing up liking like the ceremony of say the Catholic Church
Mhm.
really gave me this inkling for ceremonial type practices. Yes,
Awesome.
very
Yeah, I
interesting.
was raised Catholic as well, and there is so much ceremony
Yes,
to that whole um belief system, I guess. And I think there's so much beauty to that because in the processions and the ceremonies, there's sort of a reflection of nature a lot of
mm.
times that creates a holistic fractal approach to things.
I agree. It's all big ritual. You
Hmm.
look at it like that, and then
Ah.
yes, it's very interesting when we look at it like that.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah, the Eucharist becomes like for me, who really likes ceremonial magic, it becomes a thing. You know? Yeah,
Understandable.
yeah,
Yeah. So yeah, you mentioned how when you first got started in ceremony, how you didn't learn any like rituals or anything.
yes,
It's funny how much theory becomes a part of the practice before the practice does, because
yeah,
you have to understand why you face what direction, why you make what gesture. Otherwise, it's just another dance that is
yes,
potentially meaningless.
yes, yes. I think so. I think when you start to because a lot of the theory shows you intent, and that's what
Yes.
magic is. It's like we are veiling our intent with action to create some sort of reaction, which is so fascinating.
Well
You
said.
know.
Well
Hmm.
said. Absolutely. And so, what are perhaps some of your least favorite types of workings, either because they don't fit in with your ethics or because you just don't enjoy doing them?
So I've begun to see because what I do like to see in lots of stuff is beauty. So I
Mhm.
can see beauty in different practices. I wouldn't say there's a practice that doesn't fit right with me, but however, I do not say I uh, I do not sometimes take archetypes as literal gods.
Mhm.
Like some people do, and that's completely fine. But I like to think of them as more universal law,
Sure.
and that way,
Principles. Yeah.
exact principles, and that way
Mhm.
I can worship at any temple.
Yes,
I could, yeah, yeah,
absolutely. I
yeah.
I agree with that 100%. I think there's so much to be found not only in every belief system but in the commonalities across
I
those
agree.
belief systems, like a sort of meta truth that can be
I
extracted.
agree. I agree. It's almost like it's like Plato's theory of forms, where
Uh-huh.
we see forms, but then it can represent. Or no, my favorite analogy actually is the analogy of people drawing an elephant. So you get students to sit around an elephant to draw. Somebody's going to draw the ass, and they're completely correct. Somebody's going to draw the trunk, but then truth is the elephant
Hmm.
itself. Exactly.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And how has magic changed your life for the better?
It's made me so much more intentional with my life
Mm.
because once you start to see mundane things as magic, like making your tea, maybe I want to stare it clockwise and add some intention to that. That's very magical. you know
Absolutely.
I've also been, because I use, of course, we can take, like, with celestial magic, we could take it as literal archetypes, but you can also use it as a way to map out the psyche. So
Hmm.
if I'm using the sun as myself, the moon as my emotions, I can better, like, understand myself, which is the goal of magic. Know thyself,
Yes.
and it's really helped me become for me, a grounded individual. It's
Hmm.
helped me to be able to move with purpose, because I see, like, in my work life now, I I can move with cause and effect, because I know that as I'm laying the bricks down to build my life, something is building, as opposed to living life at the whims of the wind.
Hmm.
You know,
Yeah,
yeah,
or the ego, or the
yes,
yeah, the shadow perhaps. Okay.
I agree.
So what sort of traditions do you draw inspiration from the most, do you think?
So, growing up, I really loved Roman tradition, and
Hmm.
then, because, like, it's tied to the planets. So what I use now is the seven classical planets, and then have their archetypes from different cultures. But I quite like the Roman cultures. I
I do too.
celebrated Saturnalia in the Temple of Saturn last year.
Wow.
Yes, in Rome.
Wow.
So, yeah, I quite like it. I like it. I've
So
been
go
yes.
ahead. Please go ahead.
No, I was thinking, because I am African, and then you see a lot of, like, of correspondences, but then, because people haven't mapped it out the same way we map out the correspondences with Western esoteric practices, I've not been able to connect as cleanly.
Hmm.
Like, maybe you say Venus. If I say Venus, you automatically know I'm talking about East. Maybe I'm talking about all the correspondences, but the African religion has been mapped out to that central, in my head, way, and so I haven't been able to connect to my roots as much. But
Hmm.
yeah. Mm.
That's amazing that you um got to participate in Saturnalia in the Temple of Saturn. I Saturn has been a heavy influence on my practice and certainly my whole life. Um, did you notice any changes that came about in like discipline or perhaps
Absolutely.
concentration? Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely. That's why I enjoy working with Saturn, because
Hmm.
I get to enjoy becoming better over time. I'm rolling my ball, and I like
Yeah.
awake, and then I so from that day when I celebrated Saturnalia in Rome, I flew to Berlin, because they were having this winter solstice celebration as well.
Hmm.
And so we meditated with a member of the Fraternus Saturni on
Wow.
Saturday. It was absolutely amazing. I recommend it this year if you're trying to. I will be down to go again. But yes, I did notice a lot of change in my structure after working with Saturn. Yes.
Excellent. So, speaking of artists and poets and things like that, or even other magicians, what are some of your influences?
Um, Leonardo da Vinci,
Oh, good
which
one.
is very it could sound like cliche, but he was an artist and a scientist, and that influences my work a lot, because
Hmm.
I quite like how Crowley said, it is religion with the methods of science.
Hmm.
I find that quite interesting. I like that a
Absolutely.
lot. Yeah.
Absolutely. It's
Let me
funny.
I'm
I was gonna say it's funny because I was just speaking to one of my associates yesterday who brought up that the method of science, the aim of religion, just yesterday, and then Yeah. Just earlier today, I was talking about something else that you said. It's funny how coincidences can occur
Mm.
like that when you speak with other practitioners.
It's so interesting because we get to see how, like, because when people ask you maybe about results of magic, it sort of happens like coincidence. You're like,
Mhm.
am I dreaming or did that actually happen? And we get to see, yeah, it's I think of magic sometimes as increased probability of
Hmm.
some things. Yeah,
I like that.
yeah. But yes, I'm listening to you.
No, that's okay. And the other thing I was thinking that I was just saying earlier today is you said it might be kind of cliche to mention Leonardo da Vinci, but sometimes things are cliche for a reason. When somebody's
Yeah,
a master like that, I mean, they're going to have a large influence.
yes. Get out. Yes, I agree. I agree. Do you?
What?
What are your
So,
inspiration?
um, boy, that is a good question. So I'm an artist and a musician as well. So I grew up just noticing that there was something behind the scenes. And to me, the artist is someone who sort of reaches beyond the veil and pulls back things for people who can't do the same for themselves or can't do it in the same way. So yeah, art and music are big influences. And then um I mean, I'm just looking at my bookshelves and trying to pick one book, and I just can't, because every time I try to say one, another one pops up. But I'm heavily influenced by the past. I feel
Yes,
that one of the most magical things about humans is we're sort of a link between the past and the future, and heaven and hell, and
again
you
now.
know, it's we're just juxtaposed in this magical position.
Malkuth, we're in the center.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely. So, what are some of your strengths?
Um, when you said books, it reminded me of somebody who inspires me actually, and that is
Mhm.
Manly P. Hall, of course.
Ooh, that's a good
Yeah,
one.
beautiful, poetic guy. But my strengths in terms of real life, like life,
Yeah, or maybe more magically speaking.
magically speaking,
Mhm.
I would say, huh, never thought about it before. Strength. I would never have looked at any of the things I do as maybe a strength, but I know that I like to use intention a lot,
Mhm.
to make the smallest things magical, like giving a gift
Mhm.
or making food for loved ones, like
Mhm.
instilling it with love, or like speaking into someone's life, like
Mhm.
when you tell somebody you are blessed without being not absent-minded at all,
Mhm. Mhm.
but yes, I'll say that's something I do quite often.
So being intentional,
Being
that's
intentional.
that's awesome. I wish more people were more intentional, because everything we do, like you said, ever since the day we come into this world, we're doing magic. So you may as well be intentional and conscious about the magic. And I just got to say, Manly P. Hall is a wonderful influence. I have the Secret Teachings of All Ages over here on my
Of
bookshelf,
course.
and just listening to some of his lectures, sometimes he seems like such a humble and gentle person, but the power of his mind was so magnanimous.
I
It's hard to
agree.
believe that it was all encapsulated in such a humble and gentle person.
I agree. There's something I even do that I think I'd like to share with anybody listening, if that's their vibe. I There's something called AI rapping, where you rap
Mhm.
an AI. However, the AI chatbot that I use a lot, I programmed it to answer me with the poetic style of Manly P. Hall. And
Wow,
so, like, everything in, like, it's talking to me about the most random things and it's speaking like Mr. Hall is with me. That is amazing. I love it.
that's magical as well. Yeah, I have actually used AI magically over the last few months just to sort of see what would happen. And I would ask it to write ceremonies like in the style of the Western Hermetic tradition, or in various styles, and I'm always impressed with what it comes up with. But I love the idea of yeah, like using like rap or hip hop and putting it into like an older style and seeing what it comes up with. That's a very magical thing.
It is absolutely. I'm quite happy with what we can do now. You know, for the yeah, it's cool.
I there was actually someone who posted something on Reddit. It was they had AI write a poem in the style of an old alchemist about the subject of alchemy, and it was one of the most mind-blowing poems that I've ever heard in my life. I'm trying to see if I can find it really quickly. If I can't, okay. I just want to read the very beginning. An
Yes, please.
artificial intelligence came up with this poem. In ancient realms where secrets lie, a tale unfolds, the alchemist's sigh. A dance of elements, a mystic art, unveiling truths deep within the heart. From leaden weight to golden gleam,
Mm,
transmutation's quest, a timeless dream.
yes.
And there's about 16 more of these stanzas that I'm just
Ah,
like, how do you come up with that without some understanding of the way the pieces fit together? I'm getting
yeah.
chills right now because I haven't read
I
that poem in a while.
was like getting goosebumps and shit. But yeah,
Yeah, what a magical thing.
it is.
Okay, so you mentioned like the force of Saturn and I think some other things. Are there any other entities that you have worked with that you feel have sort of propelled you in your magical career?
Absolutely. So I feel every year the day of my like the day my birthday is on is probably the energy of the planet that I am carrying at the
Hmm.
moment. And so like I and also I do a lot of celestial magic every day because you know how the seven planets, seven classical planets are the days of the week.
Hmm.
So I work with them quite daily, depending on and also the planetary times and hours. So
Sure.
whenever I'm doing my rituals, I like to time them for the day and the hour. And so I get to not focus on just one aspect, you know, so I get like a nice spread around.
That's excellent.
However,
Go
However,
ahead.
I have been, and there's sometimes I work with maybe Jupiter more. I work with sometimes Mercury more because I need to be like quick on my feet and in my mind.
Mhm.
Depending, it depends on the time, on the use, and yeah,
Yeah, I think it's
yeah,
important to find a balance between the elements. And some of us, I tend to be very mercurial, so I work with Saturn a lot to sort of help me ground and focus on the larger goal, the larger perspective. I actually,
yes,
before I started wearing black all the time, well, first of all, I guess I've never really addressed that. One of the reasons that I wear all black is because it helps me concentrate and it helps me ground. A lot of my family members think that I'm like an evil like devil worshiper or something like that, but
likewise,
it's to the contrary. Actually, ever since I started wearing all black, I've had more time and energy to help others. But before I started doing that, I would wear a gray shirt on Monday, a red shirt on Tuesday, an orange shirt on Wednesday, a blue shirt
me
on
too,
Thursday, a green
me too.
shirt on Friday, etc., etc.
Yes, yes, exactly. I even changed my jewelry according to the
Yeah.
times as well. It's absolutely fascinating. Or drink like black coffee on Saturday
Mhm.
mornings.
Yep, yep.
Mm.
That's
Oh,
fascinating. Go ahead.
speaking of deities as well, I like to every time I'm in a new place, I like to be with the local deities.
Hmm.
So I was in Egypt and I hailed Ra with the
Mm.
Thelemic practices. I did my four sun adorations in Egypt, you know, and in London here, I go to the Temple of Mithras, you
Ooh.
know.
Hmm.
So per place, and I get to be in different places all the time. I try to connect with the local deities and see how that would be.
Hmm.
Yes.
I think that's very important. And even just connecting with like the genius loci, like the spirit of the place itself, is something
Yes.
I'm very big with, like the spirit of my study, the spirit of my house.
Ah, yes,
I
yes,
just gave offerings to the nature spirits outside. I
yes,
celebrate the solstices and equinoxes on the 21st just because it keeps it square. So I was just outside, like basically hailing all the nature spirits for the
yeah,
blessings and guidance and protection that they bring my home. So
yeah,
yeah, just general spirits, I think people could address more often, like the
yeah.
spirit of this chair that has held me up through all of these interviews, and that's a
Yep.
very magical thing.
I agree. Like we think about egregores, and we think of
Yes.
it, yeah, and they're there, and we
Hmm.
we acknowledge them if we want, if that's your style. But
Hmm.
I quite like that you do that. It's very, you feel even more connected to your space,
Yes,
you know.
absolutely.
Mhm.
So you mentioned planetary magic. Um, was there any certain like course that you like learned from, or did you just take it from like a Golden Dawn or Thelemic perspective?
First of all, it started all organic. Like I said, I was
Hmm.
really into, and I think now in retrospect, that was the time of my life. I first just started with adoring and recognizing full moon, new moon cycles. And then gradually I started to realize the different aspects of the planet. But then I am very much influenced by Golden Dawn
Hmm.
methodologies and ways of doing it. And recently, only very recently, have I been inspired by Thelemic,
Hmm.
because I met some members of the OTO when I was in Edinburgh, which is where Crowley did a few of his things, and it was so interesting because one thing that I really like solar religions, like
Hmm.
because itself is gold, is kingly, and I quite like Liber Resh, for example, the ritual
Oh
of
yeah.
adoring. I think it's so interesting. It's so interesting, the ritual.
It really is. And so when I was first told, so I used to belong to an order for a very short amount of time. It wasn't OTO, it wasn't Golden Dawn, but it was a Thelemic order. And they first gave me Liber Resh. And I'm like, there's something about this. Like I'm orienting myself. And then it dawned on me one day that I was addressing the sun as well as other things, but also the sun at its different aspects throughout the day.
Yes, exactly. That's what I love about. That's actually what I love about it, because you wake up and you are like rising, or when
Yes,
you're setting and you're beautiful. Or maybe when I'm doing my
yes,
12 o'clock like sun adorations and I am triumphing. I love that shit.
yes, yes.
I
Well,
absolutely do.
and the concept of the noonday sun, like relating to Hathor, and like
Yes.
how the type of energy that Hathor has, like I never would have associated that energy with that. But once you do it enough times, it just brings you into equilibrium.
Yes.
Another thing that I found very magical about Liber Resh is it sets a program to where if you need to be like Ra in thy rising, then you can
Yes.
recite that part of it and you then become at
I
that
agree.
frequency. Yeah.
I agree. I agree absolutely.
How magical.
Yes. How magical. How magical. And then like sometimes I'm just wondering how, because it is quite beautiful magic if
Hmm.
we take away even from the magical qualities and just think of how it impacts the mind
Hmm.
in itself. That
Hmm.
is a beautiful thing to do,
Hmm.
you know?
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, I mean, we're all here trying to figure out like who we are, and a very large part of how we experience who we are is through our mind. So the more we can have an effect on our mind, perhaps the more of an effect we have on ourselves.
agreed. Agreed. Absolutely, because the self is mind. It's all emanating from mind.
Yeah, perhaps so. I think the axiom of what is it, like the seven Hermetic Principles, the first one is
Yes.
mentalism.
Yeah, exactly. 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 That's from the Kabbalion.
Yes, absolutely. So
Yes.
what you've mentioned, being very intentional and being
Yes.
grounded, are there any other recommended practices that you could recommend?
To people. I think those are the key things, in
I
my
think so.
opinion, to be intentional and to be grounded, because we can have possibilities of being too lofty. I think that is one of the things that could happen with magic, or even like with solar practices. It can get into your head.
Hmm.
You
Hmm.
can like lose touch, and it's good to be grounded all the
Hmm.
time, and it's now then good to be intentional with your words and your actions.
Hmm.
You if you think every day that every second that passes is you writing this beautiful symphony that is your life, or this every second that passes you're laying bricks in building this great mansion that is your life, you become more intentional with
I
it.
love that metaphor. Yeah. It's so common, I at least in my experience, for magicians to often go, one of two ways, which is the solar way and in an unbalanced manner, which is ego, I'm God,
Yes.
I'm the most powerful, or they go the Luna way and turn into a lunatic where they're completely dissociated from reality
Yes.
in general. And it's
Yes.
so important to find that balance.
Yes, it absolutely is because somebody I saw this thing. Somebody was like left hand path, right hand path, and the person was like, "Is your right hand as strong as your left?" I said, "Okay, fair enough, interesting." But yeah. It really is about the balance, and that's what we do when we're like trying to like if you take for example the what's the first ritual you do before you do like the ritual of the pentagrams again, the
The middle
Kabbalistic
pillar.
cross.
Oh, the
Yeah, the
Kabbalistic
middle
cross.
pillar.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's grounding. That's putting you at this point between the worlds, which is what we are doing, right? Like as the human vessel, we can perceive the world beyond, but we are perceiving the world here. We
Mm-hmm.
are conduits. Yeah,
Yeah, I actually misspoke. The Kabbalistic cross is what precedes the LBRP or
yeah.
the LBRH. I would just do them one right after the other. So they sort of like, to me, the Kabbalistic cross and the middle pillar became one thing, but they are certainly different and they do different things.
Yeah, and yeah. I love to now just make my own
Same.
recipe.
Same.
Yeah.
It's yeah, that's what it's always been about for me is as an artist is, like I said, extracting the sort of meta truth and finding inspiration from that and then writing my own thing, which I think perhaps is what we're meant to do anyway.
I think so.
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah.
So what are some of the difficulties of being a practitioner in your mind?
I feel truly it can be dissociation from the people around you
Hmm.
because that is a real thing.
Oh yeah.
You are part of something that not that many people are a part of.
Hmm.
And that's why sometimes like in lodges or like in secluded magical orders, like that's why there's a bond between people because they are partaking in something that other people are not partaking in. You know,
Absolutely.
say like I remember one day I was super happy because it was the full moon or something, and then this is very small, but people couldn't really even understand why, and that's fine. I've
Hmm.
also learned from Eliphas Levi in the beginning of the book, The Rituals and Doctrines of High Magic,
Hmm.
when he was like, you can embrace these truths if you speak about them, you become a madman, but if you keep them to yourself, you become a monarch. So you become like yeah, exactly. You become like isolated a little bit from the people and around you. Another thing that has happened to me in my life is magic, I think, has put me in such a place in the world where I am enjoying my world reality, but I can't really share it with anybody. People wouldn't really understand. Yeah.
Yeah. It can be very isolating. And you mentioned Eliphas Levi. I love his poem, The Magician.
Oh,
Um,
really?
yeah, I don't know if you've ever read it or not, but
No, no, yeah.
I would certainly recommend looking into it because it is beautiful. And I'm not sure who translated originally, if it was Crowley or Mathers or someone else, but the way that they translated it into English is wonderful. I highly recommend anyone looking into that poem, The Magician. Um, Essentially, it addresses the will of the higher magician in such an eloquent way that I don't want to spoil it by slaughtering it by trying to remember exactly what it says. But like I said, I highly recommend looking into that poem. I'll even send it to you after this call.
Yes, please. I would
Uh,
love that. Yeah.
yeah. So what are some materials that are used in your practice?
So I travel a lot,
Hmm.
and so I have like a set with me, a quick set. I have my
Hmm.
tarot cards.
Okay.
I like the Thoth deck
Oh yeah.
purely because it's tied to the planets and the zodiac signs. It's very easy for me to like understand more as opposed to deciphering an image. I'm deciphering an energy that I'm familiar with, like a feeling. Yeah. If
Hmm.
somebody says Saturnian, there's a way my mind goes to. You know. And
Hmm.
then I have my candles with me. I have like different things that I've acquired that I think are magical. Perhaps I like to be try to be a good force, even though I think doing magic that influences somebody else's will, I call it witchcraft, like dark magic. Like because yes, of course I practice witchcraft, but I mean like doing something that influences somebody else's will, blah blah blah. But I like to carry around pictures of people that I'm praying positively for. So whatever positive vibe I can send you, great. So I carry that around with me and make a makeshift altar wherever I go.
Absolutely, with some sort of spell focus, like a picture, a candle, and a tarot card. I think each card is a spell. Like
Yeah.
you can, like, I make oils and things charged with the energy of the cards. So let me ask you this. You mentioned traveling a lot. Do you have you ever had any like interesting occurrences with like TSA at, like, at the airport, like with your magical implements or anything?
So that was from in Egypt actually.
Okay, okay.
Because in Egypt they really search your stuff, especially if you look like me. And then they what's it called? They saw I actually have it. Let me show you. Just a sec. It's here. So they saw this,
Aha.
which like to an Egyptian you wouldn't really,
Think much
think
of it,
much
yeah.
of. Yeah, but then the guy, he was like, these are playing cards, right? He was taking them out, but then it was a bit, we had like this look at each other. But that's, I think that's the most I've gotten in terms of maybe my chains, because I wear like a lot of things on my neck.
Mhm.
And then they always stop at the stop and search thing. They're like, what's going on? Yeah.
Interesting. I for something told me there might have been some interesting occurrences there. So what are some things to avoid as a practitioner?
I feel pride.
Sure,
Pride.
sure.
Um, Many people have different perspectives of the Lucifer character. We can see Lucifer in his, some people can break Lucifer down in his rising and in his fall. And what we have to, and there's so much to unpack of that, but then what we have to see is, or what I see is, Lucifer's fall was pride. And so we can ascend to the beauty and the glory and the harmony, but we have to be careful lest we fall because of the pride.
Sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know, and myself as well, I struggle with that, but I think that's a pretty common thing. That's what I mentioned earlier, the overly solar imbalanced solar aspect can, that's the first thing I was warned of is when I first started studying magic, was like, watch your ego. Like, it's going
Yes.
to flare up. And I'm like, don't neurolinguistically program me. They're like,
Yes.
it's not that. It happens to everyone. And I'm
Yes.
like, okay. So, and actually that was kind of a good thing for me because I didn't really have much I didn't have much self, for some reason the term eludes me, but I didn't really believe in myself too much. And then I started practicing magic, and it was just like, wow, like I am a part of this, like you mentioned, the symphony, like I am an instrument in this grand orchestra, and that's a
Yes.
beautiful thing.
Yes. Yes,
Anyway,
it is. But then we also, so there's one thing that helps me really. They say like a cell on your body can rightly say I am this person, but it would be hubris as well to claim that I am this person. Like my eye is definitely me, but it would be so hubris to say it is all of me. So we have to remember that balance. We
I
are,
like that metaphor. Yeah.
yeah, we are everything, but we are not everything.
Hmm. Yeah. And what is the heart without the lungs? You know, the heart doesn't beat unless it's oxygenated, and
Yes.
vice versa.
Yes, agreed.
So normally I ask how magic is typically viewed in your area, but it seems
Ah,
like you're kind of like Mr. Worldwide, like you're sort of all over the place. So what has your experience been as far as meeting other practitioners along the way? Is that something that's common?
I always hope that every new place I go, I find a practitioner.
Mhm.
And a lot of times I've been very graciously blessed with practitioners. But if you're looking for if you're looking for gold, you know that it's going to take a while.
Mhm.
There's so much, of not
Lead.
gold around. Yeah, I wasn't gonna say, but yes, I think in different areas, the different places you could find, or sometimes I found that I should be comfortable not even finding, magic and just enjoy
Sure.
being like real world, enjoy life. But I always search for magic. I always do. Yeah, I always.
I do too, yeah. And
I
sometimes you meet a practitioner that they either don't even know they're a practitioner or they don't believe that they are. And that's always an interesting thing as well. Uh-oh.
Can you hear me?
All right, welcome back.
Thank you very much.
So, I believe we were addressing how sometimes you can meet somebody that is what we would consider a practitioner, but they either don't realize they are or they don't believe that they are. And I think that's always interesting.
It's back. It's back. We're here. We're here. Somebody you could consider as a practitioner.
Mhm.
And
Can you hear me?
yes, I can hear you.
Okay, so sometimes you meet a practitioner and they either don't recognize that they are one or they don't believe that they are. And that can be kind of interesting.
Yeah, it can be. It can be. However, in my recent times, because I know my practices could be like different, not even far out, but just different. I allow it. I
Mhm.
don't have to. I don't have to. I can relate, meet you at where you are. So
Yes.
if we're going to just enjoy like meditation,
Mhm.
if you want me to do a rest with you, fine. But I like to just experience the practice of whatever is there. That's what we're here for anyway, like syncing and harmony, as
Mhm.
opposed to like being super focused on like theory and like the nitpickiness. There's so many things that people don't have in common, especially in this magical space.
Hmm. Yeah, I love that philosophy. It's I don't have to say no, no, you're practicing magic, Catholic priest. You just don't realize it. It's like we call it different things. It's all in all, it's just a one big dance, and we're trying to understand
Yes.
it from different spokes on the wheel. You know.
Yes, I love that you call it a dance. Like something like the procession of the equinoxes now.
Yes.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
So, are there any films or literature or like music that you would recommend to help people get into the state of mind for magic?
So first of all, like fairly, not a lot of people know this, but Manly P. Hall directed a film.
I didn't know that.
Exactly, it's called When Were You Born, 1930 something. Amazing, but I
That's
wouldn't say it's like because a lot of times when we see the beauty of our practice, we're talking like hermetically when we're talking about the sun was his father, the moon was his mother, the wind carried in the belly. But
yeah.
this was about yeah, it's when were you born? It's this story of this person who died and they tried to track how the person died through astrology. That's interesting. It's an interesting film. However, there's more there's more subtle ones. There's more that you see the beauty of alchemy. I'm thinking, and I've watched some Hermetic films. Of course, The Holy Mountain by
Yeah.
Alejandro Jodorowsky. It's
Mm.
very far out, like with symbolism. But I wouldn't say I see I'm like a hermetic or alchemic message is passed across to me as much.
Mhm.
Um, you could watch the Strange Angel series about Jack Parsons. Have you seen it?
I have not. I'm making a note of that right
Oh,
now.
it's quite interesting because like usually when Hollywood is trying to represent like witchcraft, magic, or rituals, they do it like oh, this is devil worship, blah blah blah.
Sure.
But they didn't say it was bad or good. It was sexed up, of course, but it wasn't bad or good, and it actually showed how because Jack Parsons became a man of will,
Hmm.
he made the rockets. It's quite fascinating. I wouldn't lie. If you're an
That's amazing.
occultist, yeah, you. If you're a Thelemite, it would be a nice like view, be a nice
Mm.
watch for sure.
Okay. Yeah,
But I
I
can't.
don't. I guess I don't really consider myself a Thelemite, and that's one of the reasons that I left the order that I was in. I guess I'm just a scientific artist at this
Yeah,
point.
yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
I'm not. People say, "Am I this? Am I that?" I don't have to be any of those things. I am myself. Like I'm trying to find. I'm. I like what I like.
Exactly. So speaking of films, have you ever seen A Dark Song?
I have seen a dark song where they try to do the Abraham Mellon ritual.
Yeah, I thought that was one instance of Hollywood actually portraying somewhat accurately. Of
Yeah,
course, there was some art and artistic license, but I think it was very well portrayed as far as an occult or esoteric film goes.
yeah, I liked it. I liked it as well.
Mhm.
I like have you seen Waking Life
No,
by
that's
Richard
another one I'm going to write
Linklater?
down.
Oh my God, you would love it. It's about, are we dreaming or are we awake? That's all I'd say, because it's way more far. So they shot it in an interesting way as well, where like every film is 24 frames per second, and they drew over every frame. And I
Interesting.
think that alone is already mind blowing. But the content is very heavy.
So that almost sounds like a Scanner Darkly, which
Exactly,
was
same guy, same guy. It's
okay.
called
Well,
rotoscoping.
was
Yeah.
it the same guy as in like Philip K. Dick, or the same like director and animator?
The same director, but I like that you even reference Philip K. Dick because he's referenced in Waking Life as well.
I
But
love
yes,
Philip K. Dick. Awesome.
yes, cool.
So
In
I
terms
know we're
of
getting
books,
pretty close to time here for you. But I've got one more question if that's all right.
cool, absolutely.
So what are some of your plans for the near future as far as your practice goes?
Uh, I one thing I look forward to be honest, is just being more disciplined. I like to be able to find this. I used to be disciplined before I started traveling. I was way more disciplined before I started traveling a lot, but now I experience so much transience.
Hmm,
Things fade away so much around me that it's sometimes hard to put your leg in the soil, you
sure.
know. And but yeah, that's one of the things I look forward to in my practice. I don't look forward to maybe adopting anything new or like taking anything out. I'm kind of comfortable with my flow.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, every time I do get urges sometimes to perform a ritual alone, and I like to travel very far away to do it. I actually want to tell a story, a random story where you can rent a castle if you want in the
Wow.
UK, and I rented a remote one for my ritual purposes.
Oh
And I
wow.
was so yeah, I was so excited. I had a nice fast. I was like, and then my castle had this secret garden that you follow to if you want to get to the beach. I did just that in the night. I was walking to the beach. You wouldn't guess what I saw on the beach. Practitioners, loads.
Loads of
They
them.
had a little fire going on in the middle. I was like, oh my god, this is crazy. What a synchronicity. But
Wow.
yes, I seek to do more lone travel, like pilgrimages to myself. Yes.
That's an excellent thing to look forward to. I should take some inspiration from that as well.
Right. Yeah, if you ever want to travel far, I haven't come far enough to the States, but if you're like around, I treat Europe like a big country. Yeah, so I'm like in and out, in and out, in and out. So if you're ever here, yeah, we could rush in the mountains.
I would love that. I look forward to that. I've never been to Europe, but that's just one more reason
Yeah,
for me to go.
yeah, cool. It'll be amazing.
Awesome. Well, Mercury, thank you so much for joining us and sharing a little bit of your life and perspective with us. I wish you safe travels.
Thank you.
And yeah, be safe. And I'll message you that poem from Levy as well.
Yes,
I
please.
know
Let me
I
just
said I would do that. Okay. Well,
absolutely.
thanks
And
again.
as you go on your way, I hope you experience the great work. I hope you have beautiful experiences, abundant experiences. You get to meet interesting people that impact your mind, your body, and your soul in profound ways that you would not be able to expect until you look back. I speak that as we even move into this new part of the year, this new part of our seasons, you start to see new parts of yourself. You start to unravel and you start to bloom into something you've never seen before. And to everybody listening as well. Yes,
Thank you. Thank you, brother.
absolutely.
I felt the weight of those words as you were speaking them truly.
But,
Thank you very much. Thanks again. I'll catch you later.
absolutely. Au revoir, à tout à l'heure, and bye bye.